I realized something was wrong the moment I opened the family group chat and saw photos of packed suitcases, none of them mine. A second later, my mom texted, "We only have enough money for the trip for us and your sister. You should stop depending on us, Harper." Ha! Depending on them? I paid my own rent. I built my own career. I hadn't asked them for $1 since I was 18. But instead of arguing, I simply replied, "Okay, enjoy your vacation." They took that as defeat. My sister Madison even sent a smug selfie from the airport. "Wish you were here." Not really. But what they didn't know, what they never bothered to find out, was that I had a life they'd never imagined. So when they rolled their suitcases into the luxury resort, smiling like winners, they froze. Because I was already there. Not as a guest, but as the owner. I should have been used to being the afterthought in my family. But that night, the sting felt sharper than usual. Mom called while I was reheating leftover pasta. Her voice bright in a way that always meant bad news wrapped in fake sweetness. "Harper, sweetheart," she began. "I hope you understand. The trip is really just for the three of us. Your father, Madison, and me. 3 of us, not 4. I pressed the phone between my shoulder and ear, pretending to check something on my laptop. "Sure, no problem." But Mom kept talking, always the part that hurt more. "We need this as a family moment. Madison's been stressed." And honestly, she hesitated, then pushed the knife all the way in. "You need to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. I nearly laughed. If only she knew. Dad chimed in from the background, loud enough for me to hear. "She'll be fine. She's used to staying home." Used to staying home? Used to being excluded. Used to being invisible. I hung up politely, then tossed my phone onto the couch. My apartment was quiet except for the hum of the AC, yet my thoughts were loud, echoing with years of small wounds my family never acknowledged. Madison, the star. Harper, the shadow. They had no idea how wrong they were. No idea how much I'd changed. No idea what I'd built far away from their judgment, their expectations, their dismissive smiles. And now? Now they'd chosen a luxury resort for their family vacation. A resort with a private beach, rooftop bar, and ocean view suites. A resort that belonged to someone they thought didn't matter. Someone they thought couldn't afford to tag along. Someone named Harper Lane. Someone named me. They invited everyone except me. But soon, they would realize they were stepping directly into my world. And this time, they would be the ones left out. People assume silence equals weakness. My family certainly did. For years, they looked at my modest apartment, my old sedan, my quiet lifestyle, and decided the story for me. Harper isn't doing well. Harper can't keep up. Harper needs help. Except they never actually asked. The truth? I learned early that if success was the only language my family respected, then I'd rather speak it privately. While Madison posted photos of CEO lifestyle lattes and gym selfies, I spent 4 years reading investment books in laundromats. While Mom bragged about Madison's new marketing job, I built credit quietly, saved aggressively, and bought my first small rental property at 24. No one noticed. No one cared to. They only saw the surface. And I let them, because it kept them out of my business. But everything changed 2 years ago. I got hired remotely by a boutique hotel group as a junior financial analyst. They had no idea I had experience in real estate. I'd kept that quiet too. I worked insane hours, learned every inch of the hospitality market, and after one profitable quarter, the CFO said, "You have a sharp mind, Harper. Ever thought about running something bigger?" That something bigger came faster than I expected. An investor backed out of a deal, a struggling luxury seaside resort needing new management, new vision, new ownership. I ran the numbers, showed them my plan, and to my shock, the board said yes. They handed me the keys. At 26, I became the primary owner of Azure Bay Resort, the very same hotel my parents had chosen for their precious family vacation. Not because they knew anything about it, not because they cared who owned it, just because Madison liked the pictures on Instagram. And that irony? It was delicious. The night before their flight, I checked the registration logs. There it was. Lane family, 3 guests, deluxe ocean view suite, occupying my penthouse suite, my suite. I leaned back in my office chair, staring at the glowing screen, trying not to laugh. Mom always said, "One day you'll understand why we're hard on you." Maybe she was right. Because now I finally understood. They never believed in me, But soon, very soon, they would have no choice. The morning of their flight, I woke before sunrise. Not because I was anxious, but because I knew exactly what would happen next. At 7:12 a.m., my sister Madison went live on Instagram. I didn't have to follow her. Someone from high school tagged me, "Lol, your sis is flexing again." Curiosity won. Madison flipped her perfect curls over one shoulder, panned the camera toward our parents loading their suitcases into the car. "Family vacation," she chirped. "Mom, Dad, and me, only the essentials." Only the essentials. I almost felt bad for her, almost. Then she said it loud enough that my neighbors probably heard it too. "Harper's not coming, obviously." Mom laughed. Dad muttered something about letting her grow up eventually. Then Madison added the final blow. "She wouldn't fit in here anyway. This place is expensive." I froze. Not because it hurt, but because of what happened next. I heard my dad's voice clearly when Madison turned the phone toward him. "She needs to learn her place, Maddie. This trip is for people who work hard." People who work hard? My hands tightened around my coffee mug. Everything I had, every dollar, every title, every property was earned alone. Meanwhile, Madison still called them to help with rent when she overspent on handbags. And yet, I was the burden. Anger rose slowly, not hot and wild, but cold and razor-fine. The kind of anger that sharpens you. The kind that narrows your vision into purpose. I turned off the live stream and stared at the wall for a long moment. Then my phone buzzed. Azure Bay Security. "Miss Lane? The Lane family requested early check-in tomorrow. Should we prepare the penthouse?" I inhaled deeply. "No," I said. "Put them in the standard suite for now. I'll make the adjustments personally when I arrive." The guard hesitated. "Yes, ma'am." I grabbed my suitcase already packed since last night. As I locked my apartment door, one thought pulsed through me with each step down the hallway. They think I don't belong on their vacation. Perfect. Because this time, they're stepping into mine. The flight to Azure Bay was short, but my thoughts made it feel endless. By the time the plane landed, I was no longer angry. I was focused. The resort had always looked beautiful in photos, but seeing it from the ground, towering white walls, cascading glass balconies, the turquoise water stretching endlessly hit differently when you knew every inch of it belonged to you. This was my domain. And today, my family would walk straight into it. I headed through the private staff entrance. Every employee I passed gave me a respectful nod. "Good morning, Miss Lane." "Welcome back, Miss Lane. Everything is prepared for your arrival, Miss Lane." The warmth of it contrasted sharply with how my own family treated me. Inside the manager's office, Elena, my operations director, was already waiting, tablet in hand. "They land in 90 minutes, she said. "Would you like them escorted to the penthouse or to the standard suite first?" I sat down, crossing my legs calmly. "Standard." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Purpose?" "I want to hear what they really think, before they know who I am here." She smiled knowingly. "Understood." When she left, I walked to the security room. A wall of monitors showed every corner of the resort lobby. Hallways, pool deck, restaurants. I scanned through the cameras. Guests sunbathed, families checked in, couples laughed over cocktails. Peaceful, beautiful, exactly how I designed it. Then I clicked into camera one, pointing toward the main entrance. Soon, they'd walk through those doors, not knowing anything, not expecting anything, not prepared for me. At 2:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Front desk, they're here." I tapped into the live camera feed. The revolving glass doors spun slowly, and there they were. Mom stepped in first, dramatic sunglasses and all, instantly judging the decor with that familiar critical tilt of her chin. Dad followed, pulling 2 overstuffed suitcases like he was moving into the hotel permanently. Madison strutted behind them, filming a vacation vlog while saying things like, This place looks so expensive. I hope Harper's not watching this, she'll cry." My jaw clenched, but my expression stayed cool. Dad walked up to the reception desk. "I believe we have the penthouse suite?" "Lane family." The receptionist maintained her perfect smile. "Yes, sir. We have your booking here. One moment while I check availability." I leaned closer to the monitor. Mom complained loudly. "This lobby is smaller than it looked online," Madison added. "The lighting is terrible for photos, ugh." They were standing in a 5-star luxury resort and still managed to act unimpressed. Typical. The receptionist typed something, then paused exactly as instructed. I'm so sorry, but due to an ownership directive, the penthouse is currently unavailable. We've placed you in a complimentary standard suite while we sort things out. En more Dane with eres roops. Mom gasped like she'd been slapped. Standard? Standard? Do we look like people who stay in a standard room? Madison scoffed. This must be some mistake. My dad earns 6 figures. Dad nodded proudly like that settled the entire universe. The receptionist kept her tone polite. It's a temporary arrangement. Management will clarify soon. Mom crossed her arms. Well, get the manager then. We paid for luxury. We deserve luxury. I straightened up. This was the moment. I stepped out of the security office and walked into the hallway behind the lobby. Through the glass wall, I saw my family standing at the counter, complaining loudly, gesturing wildly. Madison tossed her hair. I swear, if Harper were here, she'd embarrass us. She can't handle places like this. I inhaled slowly. Not yet. Soon. I pushed open the side door leading to the lobby. My heels clicked against the marble floor. Heads turned. Staff straightened. Guests moved aside. And slowly, deliberately, I walked toward them. My mother saw me first. She blinked, confused. Harper? What on earth are you doing here? Madison spun around, eyes widening. Dad frowned. Did you follow us? I stopped a few feet away, hands clasped calmly in front of me. And with the entire lobby watching, I gave them a polite, businesslike smile. I'm not following you, I said softly. I'm working. They all stared. Frozen. Speechless. Just the way I wanted them. And the real reveal? That was still coming. For a moment none of us spoke. Mom's sunglasses slid down her nose as she stared at me. Working? Here? Doing what, Harper? Housekeeping? Her tone was sharp, meant to humiliate. Madison laughed an ugly, delighted sound. Oh my God. Imagine Harper cleaning rooms at a place like this. That would actually be hilarious. My jaw tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. Dad added, Harper, sweetheart, you're embarrassing yourself. Go home. Let adults handle the real vacation. His words hit harder than I expected. Not because they hurt, those wounds were old, but because he said them so casually, so confidently, as if it were a universal truth that I didn't belong. The receptionist glanced at me nervously. She knew who I was. Every staff member did. But I raised one finger subtly, not yet. I wanted to hear everything. Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice, but not enough. I hope the manager doesn't think you're with us. We don't want to be associated with your situation. My situation? I echoed. She sighed dramatically. You know, the fact that you're still struggling, still lost. It's fine, Harper. We accept you. Accept me, as if I were some charity case. Madison chimed in. Honestly, Harper, you should start taking responsibility. You can't keep living like this. Like what? I asked quietly. Like someone who'll never get ahead, Madison said, blinking innocently. It's not an insult, it's just reality. Dad nodded. That's why we didn't invite you. That environment isn't really for someone in your position. My position. A slow heat crept through my chest. I swallowed it, turned it into steel. They kept going. Dad continued. We want this to be a stress-free vacation. And Harper, honey, you can be a lot, especially when money's involved. Has it carry mange or? Mom added. Yes, we didn't want you to feel uncomfortable. This hotel is, well, it's expensive, Madison snorted. Yeah. Last thing we need is Harper asking Mom and Dad to cover her meals. They laughed. Actually laughed. Right in front of me. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Inside, something cold clicked into place. The same cold clarity I felt the day I bought this resort. I stepped closer, my voice calm and dangerously soft. So let me make sure I understand. You didn't invite me because I'm a burden? Because I can't afford to be here? Because you think I depend on you? Mom waved dismissively. No need to be dramatic, Madison added. It's not personal. You just don't fit this level. Level. That word echoed in my skull. Then, like fate itself wanted to underline the moment Elena, my operations director, approached from behind the desk. She stopped beside me, posture straight, voice steady. Miss Lane, everything is prepared in your office. And the board called, they said, to thank you personally for your leadership. All 3 members of my family turned to stone. Mom whispered, Ms. Lane? Madison's eyes widened. Wait, Lane? As in, Dad's mouth fell open. No, no, that's not Harper. What is she talking about? The receptionist, with perfect timing, added, she's referring to Miss Harper Lane, the owner of Azure Bay Resort. Silence. Pure, absolute silence. Mom's face went sheet white. Madison's phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the marble. Dad stepped back like someone had pushed him. I held their stunned expressions for a long moment. Then I smiled, slow, polite, cutting. You're right, I said softly. I don't fit the level of this place. I leaned in just slightly. I said it. For a few seconds, they just stared at me like their brains couldn't process English anymore. Mom was the first to react. She blinked rapidly, as if she could blink away reality. You're the owner? Her voice cracked in a way I had never heard before. I tilted my head. Yes, Mom. Owner. As in, I bought this place 2 years ago. Madison finally found her voice, though it trembled. No way. You're lying. You own this? You don't even dress like a rich person? I finished. She winced. Correct. I don't need to. Dad stepped forward, voice low, uneasy. Harper, why wouldn't you tell us something like this? I raised a brow. You never asked. That hit him harder than any insult ever could. The receptionist cleared her throat gently. Mr. Lane, Mrs. Lane, Miss Madison, we still need to finalize your check-in. Per Miss Lane's instructions, you'll be staying in our standard suite. Mom gasped like someone had stabbed her. Standard? But we booked the penthouse. I smiled calmly. I know. It's unavailable. Madison's jaw dropped. Unavailable? Why? We paid for it. I folded my arms. You paid for conditions set by management, and management changed those conditions. Mom sputtered. That's unfair. Oh? I asked softly. You mean like inviting everyone on a family vacation except me? She froze. Dad stuttered. H. Harper, be reasonable. You want reasonable? I stepped forward, meeting his eyes. Let me repeat what you said earlier, loud and clear on Madison's livestream. I couldn't it was a minister to gallery. His face drained of color. You said, I continued, Harper needs to learn her place. Mom closed her eyes, mortified. Madison whispered. Oh my God. So here's the lesson, I said, my voice low and even. This, I gestured to the marble floors, the soaring glass windows, the resort spread out behind me, is my place. Dad swallowed hard. We're your family. Exactly, I said. And family shouldn't humiliate or exclude their own. Mom's voice softened, desperate. Honey, we made a mistake. No, I corrected her plainly. You made a choice. I'm simply showing you the consequences. Madison grabbed her hair in frustration. But we can't stay in a standard room. It's tiny. And the view is of a parking lot. I smirked. I'm aware. I designed the layout. She groaned. Harper. Madison, I said, leaning closer. You said I didn't fit the level of this resort. I glanced around the lobby. Funny how things turn out. Dad stepped toward me again. Fine. You proved your point. Can we please have our original room? Of course not. His eyes widened. Why not? Because, I said sharply, you told the entire internet that I didn't belong in places like this. So now, I'm giving you the chance to experience a vacation without me. Madison looked like she might scream. Mom clasped her hands together. Harper, please. This is humiliating. I didn't break eye contact. You humiliated me first. Silence. Guests in the lobby pretended not to watch, but they absolutely were. The receptionist stepped forward. Your keys, Mr. Lane. Dad hesitated, then took the key cards with a shaking hand. Mom's chin trembled. We'll talk about this later. Sure, I said. My office is on the top floor, penthouse level. But you won't be allowed up there. Madison glared at me, eyes shining with angry tears. You're enjoying this. I locked eyes with her. No, I'm reclaiming my dignity. They stood frozen, holding their luggage awkwardly, shock, shame, disbelief swirling around them. Finally, Dad turned away. Let's go, he murmured. They dragged their suitcases toward the elevator, moving slowly, stiffly, like people who had just discovered the world wasn't what they thought. Before the doors closed, Madison looked back at me and whispered, I didn't know you had power, I answered softly. You never cared to look. The doors slid shut, and for the first time in years, I felt truly, unbelievably free. The moment the elevator doors closed, I let out a slow breath. Not relief, not satisfaction, clarity. For the first time in my life, the power dynamic had shifted and they felt it too. But the consequences were only beginning. 20 minutes later, I checked the security monitors. Camera 14 showed my family entering the standard suite, a compact, clean room with a view of the parking lot, not the ocean. Madison's shriek pierced through the hallway speakers. What is this? This room is tiny. I can practically touch both walls. Mom stormed in behind her. No balcony, no ocean view. This is unacceptable. Dad ran his hand through his hair in disbelief. They must be punishing us because of Harper. Madison spun around, furious. You think? Mom lifted the curtains, stared at the parking lot, and gasped, like she'd discovered a dead body. There are cars out there. Dad sighed. Sweetheart, that's what parking lots have. Mom whipped around. Don't you dare use logic right now, Richard. I had to turn away to hide my laugh. Not out of cruelty, but because the irony was staggering. At 6 p.m., the restaurant manager messaged me. Your family is requesting a table. Should we proceed normally? I replied. Yes, strictly by policy, which meant no special treatment, no priority seating, no complimentary anything. Camera 22 showed them waiting in line behind 3 other families. Madison was practically vibrating in outrage. This is humiliating, she hissed. We always get priority at restaurants. Mom nodded, whispering loudly, this is beneath us. The host smiled politely. We'll seat you shortly. We have a reservation, Mom snapped. The host checked the tablet. It says you requested standard seating. Madison glared. That's because Harper. Dad quickly shushed her. Not here. When they finally sat, they stared at the menu like the prices were personally insulting them. Mom. $40 for pasta? Madison. $50 for salmon? Dad. What does market price even mean? I watched quietly from the balcony above, sipping tea. When the bill arrived, Madison nearly choked. $178 for dinner? Dad sighed deeply. It's a high-end resort, Maddie. Mom glared at him. I blame you for this. Later that night, after they'd returned to their room, the walls finally cracked. Camera audio picked up fragments. Mom, if Harper wanted to humiliate us, she succeeded. Madison, why didn't she tell us she was rich? She let us look stupid. Dad, maybe she was tired of us assuming things. It was, Mom. Richard, whose side are you on? Dad, the side that isn't screaming. Mom gasped. Oh, so now I'm the villain? Madison threw herself face down on the bed. This is the worst vacation of my life. Dad exhaled. We shouldn't have excluded her. Silence. Then Mom whispered the first genuine thing I'd heard from her in years. We didn't know her at all. Even as I watched them, a knot formed in my chest. I told myself they deserved the consequences. But seeing Dad rub his temples, hearing Mom's voice crack, watching Madison curl up like she was falling apart, it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like recognition. They were finally seeing themselves for the first time. Elena entered the operations room quietly and placed a hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? I nodded, though I wasn't. I'm fine, I lied. Because the truth was complicated. I didn't want to destroy them. I wanted them to see me, to understand me, to stop treating me like a background character in their perfect family play. At midnight, they finally turned off the lights, but their expressions haunted me long after. Guilt buzzed beneath my ribs. Not enough to undo the consequences, but enough to soften something inside me. I whispered into the empty room. They needed this. And maybe I did too. I closed the screen. Tomorrow would bring the final reckoning. Not revenge. Truth. And truth was the only thing powerful enough to break a family apart. Or rebuild it. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything. Their words, my silence, the reveal, the consequences. By sunrise, the sky outside my penthouse glowed soft pink, but my mind was anything but soft. I wasn't done. Not yet. At 9 a.m. Elena knocked gently. They're asking to see you, she said. All 3 of them. I inhaled slowly. Bring them to the terrace. When they arrived, they looked different. Dad's shoulders sagged. Mom's makeup was minimal, eyes tired. Madison's usual snark was gone, replaced by something close to fear. They stood in a quiet row in front of me, unsure how to begin. Mom finally spoke. "Harper, we didn't know." Her voice cracked. "We didn't know who you'd become." Madison stared at her hands. "We shouldn't have said those things." Dad exhaled, the weight of years on his face. "We failed you." For the first time in a long time, I saw sincerity. Real, painful sincerity. But sincerity doesn't erase wounds. I folded my arms. "What exactly are you apologizing for?" They exchanged glances. Mom started. "For judging you. For assuming you were struggling just because you don't live loudly like Madison." Madison winced. "For saying you don't fit here. That was cruel." "I didn't mean it." Dad swallowed. "For not asking. For not listening. For not giving you the respect you earned." I didn't respond immediately. I let them feel the silence. Then I asked the question burning in my chest. "Do you realize how long I felt invisible to you?" Mom's face crumpled. "I see that now. And I hate that I caused it." Madison's eyes filled with tears. "You always seemed so independent. Like you didn't need us." I shook my head. "Being quiet doesn't mean being unhurt." Dad stepped forward slightly. "Tell us how to fix it." I took a slow breath. "I don't want your money," I said. Mom choked. "We know. I don't want your validation either." Silence. "What I do want," I continued firmly, "is respect. No more comparing me to Madison. No more assuming I'm failing because I live differently. No more using family as an excuse to hurt me." Mom nodded quickly. "You have our word." I turned to Madison. "And you. Stop mocking me to strangers. Stop undermining me online. Stop using me as a punchline because it makes you feel bigger." Madison wiped her eyes. "I was jealous." I froze. "Jealous?" I repeated. She nodded slowly. "You always stayed calm, always worked hard. You didn't crumble when things were hard. You had substance. I had selfies." Her honesty disarmed me. Then Dad cleared his throat. "We want you back, Harper. Not the version we imagined you to be. You, as you are." I looked at all of them, their regret, their vulnerability, and something heavy inside me finally loosened. I sank into my chair and spoke softly. "I'm willing to try. Not start over. But start honestly." Mom broke down crying, covering her mouth. Dad wrapped an arm around her. Madison stepped forward. "Can we spend the rest of the trip together?" "Really together?" I considered it, then nodded. "On one condition." All three stared. I smiled. "You're not staying in the standard suite anymore." Madison screamed. "Yes, wait, really?" I raised a finger. "My treat. But not because you deserve luxury. Because I'm choosing to share what I built." Dad's voice softened. "Thank you, Harper." Mom approached slowly, stopping just a foot away. "Can I hug you?" My throat tightened. "Yes," I whispered. She pulled me close, tighter than she had in years. Madison joined, then Dad, a clumsy, emotional family hug on the penthouse terrace overlooking the ocean. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I didn't feel like the outsider. I felt like someone they finally saw. We spent the next 3 days together. Not the perfect family vacation they'd imagined, but a real one. A messy one. A truthful one. And when they went home, they didn't leave with souvenirs. They left with something much rarer. An understanding of who I truly am, and the promise to never overlook me again. For once, that was enough.